Hey, good evening, Let's Talk family. And tonight we are going to have a chat, a discussion on a formal introduction to a friend of mine, Melodic Storm, and we're going to discuss her book. She wrote a book on poetry, her her energy, her spirituality. We were having a conversation right before we started about it, and having that good energy. So if I'm talking in a low tone, you want to have the tone right first and foremost. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We had formally met during a show prior that you had came on, and I really was interested in having a more one-on-one conversation with you because you, like the rest of the ladies that was on the show, I believe everybody has a lot of substance with them, and I know that you're a poet as well as an author, and I know that you wouldn't mind coming on the show to say who you are. Now I got the back, which is a bio of the book, saying Melodic Storm was born and raised in the BX, New York, in the
Yes,
'70s and '80s. Definitely witnessed the emergence of hip hop and the arts, which has impacted her life and her body of work. Growing up in a socio-economically challenged environment definitely had positive and negative effects on her development. She attended a university in northeastern United States and graduated in less than 4 years. She moved back to New York tri-state area to ignite her career, which has evolved and transformed in several different industries over the years. She comes from a close-knit family. The matriarch of her family, the matriarchs of her family have greatly influenced her love for music, reading, writing, dance. She was always surrounded by creative beings and always exposed to bigger and better things outside of her Bronx bubble.
indeed.
Melodic's goal is to give her voice and to share relatable, heartfelt vibrations with all. She is a woman, a mother, a sister, a cousin, a lover, a poet, and a friend. Wow, that's a lot there. Let's unpack a few things.
Okay.
So you grew up in the Bronx. We had talked about that before. I have some Bronx history. That is beautiful. Bronx is a beautiful place. Many moons ago. So, how was it growing up in the Bronx for you?
Um, I mean, it was fine growing up in the Bronx for me. I think I had a pretty decent childhood. And all honesty, I didn't realize that we lived in the hood until I was about 14 or 15 years old. I never felt like I wanted for anything or I was missing anything. Um, it was pretty fulfilling. Yeah.
So, let me ask you: as when first and foremost, when did you realize like poetry was something that you liked? At what age?
Ah, so I've always liked books. Um, and the first book that really touched my heart was I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I really connected with that book. I want to say I started writing in high school. That's the way I was able to express my emotions. But oh, my mother passed away 3 years ago, and as I was going through her things, I found a poem that I wrote her when I was about 9 years old. It was about nine.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, wow, look at this. So I think sometimes we um, tap into our gifts, but we don't fully understand them at that time, and I think that they evolve.
So you saw this poem 3 years ago. So that going through her stuff and that reading that poem over again is now a grown woman
Yes.
who's seen her mother pass on.
Mhm.
How did the poem, like rereading the poem for the first time again since you gave it to her? How did what was that feeling like?
Oh, it was painful. It was painful. I definitely think my reaction to it was probably different than it would have been had I found it and she was still here. But I was, it was like a revelation for me because I was like, wow, like I didn't even realize, that this was something that resonated with me before I actually, would sit down and actually write on purpose.
So you've been so then you left the Bronx and then you decided to. I know you where you moved at, but that's up to you whether you want to share where you moved at. Um,
When I left the Bronx, I went to college up in Rhode Island,
mhm.
and I was there for a while. That was
How
a
was that a culture shock?
it was a definite culture shock. Oh, for sure. Yes, absolutely. It was so different. Believe it or not, the town seemed very segregated to me, and I had never experienced that being from New York, you know.
Yeah,
Blessing.
I think that a lot of people outside of the Bronx don't truly understand like there is no like you're a race, but no, you're from the Bronx.
Right.
Everybody's like together.
It's a melting pot.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you grew up in the Bronx. It is like no place like nowhere else. You got other places where you might have a section of that area is like, oh, that's the white section or that's the black section. No, the Bronx is something different. Everybody's there like basically together,
Well, New
doing
York,
their thing.
oh, New York in general, the Bronx, Manhattan. I mean, I feel like growing up in New York, it made life different for me because I had friends everywhere. I had friends of every color. You know, it was pretty dope. I love that about New York, that you get to touch everybody. But
So so you made this ascension to Rhode Island
hmm
to this prestigious college. I might add. You may not feel so, even though that's your school and your alumni. I'm
right,
very fond of the school that you went to. So
right,
this was a culture shock, different meeting people from literally all over the world and different cultures, different nationalities. How was
right.
that experience? You graduated less than 4 years, so you wasn't a party person or whatever. I guess you was into your studies or whatever.
I was a party person. I party. I definitely partied, but I also, did my work. Like, I would go to the party. Like, we had classes Monday through Thursday, and we had trimesters. So I could party Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, but Sunday, don't call me on Sunday. I'm
Sunday was recuperating night, right?
Sunday was get this work done, write these papers, and watch Lifetime.
It's I tell you that I always tell people one thing about partying. It's like, yeah, I can still party like we used to, but it just the recovery time is just not the same. You go out on a Friday, you don't recover until Wednesday the following week.
So your whole week off.
Yeah, and I don't me myself, I don't party like that. So I'm just saying when I do hang out or go out, It's
Right.
like a serious recovery time. So graduated college. Now it's like, okay, now career, stuff like that, family, so forth, so on. So the love for writing, the love for reading. Um, and I'm gonna mess with you right now. You got a library card? You got a library card?
Yes.
I'm messing with you about the library card because
Yeah.
I know where you live at, and I know the Barnes and Noble is pretty big down there. I frequent that Barnes and Noble plenty of times. So, what type of books do you like to read?
Oh, I like to read all different types of books. I like self-help books. I like biographies, autobiographies. I do enjoy those. But oh, my guilty pleasure is actually urban fiction. Love, 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 love urban fiction.
Um, in reference to the urban fiction, how
Mhm.
how do you how do you get a lot of people, and as a reader myself, are you one of those people that you could pick up a book and you could put it down and say, it's going to take me 2 weeks to read the book? Or when you pick up a book, you say, I'm going to read this book as much as I can right now before I put it down. Because once I put it too far away from me, I won't be able to complete it.
It depends on how well I connect with the book. Like if it, just reels me in, I can sit there and probably read the book in like a day or two. Um, I remember, Terry Woods. Is it Terry Wood? Yeah, True to the Game.
Hmm.
I absolutely love that book. Well, those books rather. And I've read them a couple of times, believe it or not, because I like to reread books also because I feel like you pick up different things each time. But I probably sat there one night, I want to say in between two evenings, I probably read all three books. All
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, ugh, I was just into it. Like I would, yeah.
You
So
know,
it did, but I
I always say to myself when you reading those type of books, and I used to read them heavy. One thing about Terry Woods is that I thought was interesting when she talked about when she got fired for her job for running the copies off. And
mm,
she was like, my supervisor told me all I had to do was ask, and she was running copies off from her job on front of the printer, and they basically fired her for stealing.
oh,
But she's a very, 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 very good writer,
right.
storyteller. You're able to visualize what she's saying, so she captivates the reader.
She does.
Um, so I know that you said Maya Angelou. So Maya Angelou, as a poet and as a writer, she was a big influence on your poetry, or just her as Mother Queen, or
Mm, I think as a black woman in general, I love black excellence, honestly. Like I think that's so amazing. I think that we are some amazing people. And especially our elders. I think that I know that I expose like, my kids to just black excellence and, just great people and great things. I love her. I love Nikki Giovanni. I just think that they're polar opposites.
literally.
Absolutely. But I like that balance. I think that's so just so dope that, I can look up to both of them. And like I said, they're just totally different. So yeah.
Sonia Sanchez.
I like Sony Sanchez.
So let me ask you from an artistic point of view.
Hmm.
Do you think? And I always ask a lot of the poets on the poetry corner this question, and you're an artist as well.
Hmm.
Um, do you think that life imitates art, or art imitates life?
I think that art imitates life because I think that art mimics your experiences. I think that art is extremely subjective. Um, and that's what I like about it. Like, because, uh, in all honesty, everyone can have their opinion about your work, but they can't tell you what your work should. what your work is to you is personal.
If you had, if let me ask you, if you had 5 people in front of you right now, from an artistic standpoint, just to pick their brain,
Mm,
who would be those 5 people?
I think they would all be writers. Definitely Maya Angelou, definitely Nikki Giovanni, definitely James Baldwin. Um, who else? Ah, hmm. Let's see. Anne Moody, another writer. She had another a book called Coming of Age in Mississippi that was one of my absolute favorite books. Um, and probably Toni Morrison.
Yeah, very, very. Those are 5 interesting individuals. I mean, I would say that when as we get older,
Mm-hmm.
our generation, it's amazing that a guy like, for example, James Bowen,
Mm-hmm.
he was um he was so articulate, like, and you read some of his stuff now, and it's like, yo, you sure he ain't still alive somewhere, right? Because this guy's stuff is like profound. Did you? Let me ask you, have you? No, excuse me. Let me slow down a little bit. So now let's continue talking about your poetry.
Yes.
And so now you said, okay, I'm writing. So now, when was the first time you ever performed poetry live around people?
Mm. In front of an audience,
Hmm.
2012.
Okay.
I would write, and there were certain people that I would share my pieces with. One was my mother, another one was my cousin, two of my cousins actually, um, and my brother. I wasn't comfortable sharing with people hearing my pieces because some of them, although they're not all about me or my experiences, like you and I can have a conversation and it can spark a piece for me, but sometimes the pieces are so raw and you're so naked that I have a hard time expressing you know um I'm how can I put this I'm a very private person. So to actually even talking about certain subjects, I'm like, I don't really want to give my opinion on that. No, I'm good. So to when I write though, it's like it's unfiltered.
I'm gonna ask you. So you were basically started uh, reading your poetry to close family, friends, people that you felt comfortable, people that you were allowed to be vulnerable with.
Right.
So now, when you first did it around people that you didn't know,
Hmm.
how was that experience?
That was absolutely nerve wracking. I was so nervous, and I was encouraged by another writer and spoken word artist. You probably heard of him before. His name is William Washington, and it was his event, and it was in the village, and my one of my friends at the time, a close friend of mine, and my cousin. They were like, "Girl, you do such a great job. You need to get up there." I'm like, I'm not sharing this with anybody. And they were like, "No, you definitely need to do it." I was like, "Oh God, okay." So, and William actually encouraged me. He was like, "Come on, go up there, girl." He was like, "Everybody has to go up there once. Once you get up there, you're gonna love it." I still don't love it.
Really?
No, I don't love it. I love to write. I
So
love
you would be a ghostwriter for poets.
possibly, possibly.
So you do you remember what poem that you said?
There were a few. There was one called Denial.
You remember that? You want to say it?
No, no. It's in my.
It's in there. Hold up. Hold up. I got the book. Got the book. Hold up. Hold up. It's a book. I mean, a really, really nice book. I just received her book today, you guys. So I wasn't able to go over it because I would have definitely read every little piece of this book and been like, tell me about this poem. But I did see a couple titles in here I want you to discuss.
Mm-hmm. It's on
Hot
page.
chocolate.
I was on page 54.
Oh, wow. You see, she bullies the interview. She went straight to page 54. She ain't let me pick the poem that she wanted to discuss, you guys.
Nope, you can pick whatever poem you want.
Denial. Let's before you recite the poem. Well, you can recite the poem first.
No, this isn't one that I was gonna recite.
Well, let's. You want to talk about denial?
We can. We can talk about any poem you want to talk about.
All right. Let's recite a poem first. Let's try that first, okay? Whatever you feel comfortable reciting.
Okay. Let's see. So I sent you a few earlier today. Pick from one of those. Like, which one would you like me to recite? Let's see.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me see.
Hmm.
Black man.
Okay. Black man. Black man, you are loved. You are a descendant of kings. Try to take care of yourself. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Sharing your emotions isn't a sign of weakness. You don't have to be perfect. Their opinion won't pay your bills or build your dreams. Failure isn't a tattoo. You don't have to ask for permission to be excellent. Just be excellent.
Wow. How long? When did you write that?
Oh, I think I wrote that one in 2017.
Do you think writing that poem was like an open letter to black men?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think so many black men are afraid of their own power, but I also
Mm.
think that they've been down for so long.
Explain that. Explain that. We need to talk about this. We gonna have this conversation today.
Okay, so I feel like black men are conditioned to be less than what they are. You know what I mean? Um, in all honesty, I think that black women are conditioned to emasculate our men. Um, because I feel like,
Mm. Let me ask you. Let me ask you because that is a very, very interesting statement that
mhm,
you just said. Um, with these conditions, not understanding that as well as myself and you,
mhm,
we were on that auction block together.
absolutely.
Um, it's kind of crazy that we tend to look at each other as the enemy
Hmm.
and not realize that every atrocity that you've been through, I've been through.
Right.
Um,
We're supposed to be teammates,
yeah, I
not a
mean, and that's one of Maya Angelou's poems. Is she explains that even on that auction block, she was there with him behind her king,
right.
or side by side with her king. Um, so I think that when you say that conditioned, do you think that that conditioning do we as a community realize what's going on?
I think some of us do. I think some of us do, and I think that some of us are so caught up in the glitz and the glam and the smoke and the mirrors that they don't even realize what's going on and how things are set up. Um, but I
But
also
I've been hurt. I've been hurt by the black woman. The
I've
black woman has done me dirty.
I've,
Why should I trust her?
dirty by the black man. But okay, I'm gonna say this: just because one black woman or one black man does you wrong, that doesn't mean that the next one will. You know,
I'm bitter. She
I'm
did me dirty.
I'm
Not
not
just her, it was a couple.
I'm not bitter. I'm better.
I just was saying that because I think that like I said, I think our experiences put us in a situation where we don't know how to forgive, and then we hold ourselves hostage to the anger, the bitterness, not realizing your statement, what you said, is better to being better than being bitter, and
Right,
being able to know who you are, um,
right.
regardless of what you may have done in the past or what somebody did in the past. It doesn't take you off the throne that you are on. So I like that open letter to black men. That's
I didn't
nice.
I
Did
didn't hear
you?
I didn't hear what you said.
I said I like that open letter to black man. I
Oh,
like that.
thank you. I
Have
appreciate
you ever recited that publicly?
I have. I think it was in March at a
Because
event.
failure isn't a tattoo. I like that. And even Nicole said, she said that was really you. That. Whew,
Thank you.
yeah. Failure isn't a tattoo. So we got, you sent me kind of quite a few fantasies.
Fantasies. Okay. Let me scroll to that one. All right. All right. Here we go. Fantasies. Fantasies of a dream girl, but I'm a real woman. You see, I was your dream girl, but it turns out I was really your theme girl. You had a vision of what you wanted me to be, but you didn't really see me. You wanted to know why I never picked you, but you fantasized that I was something that I wasn't. You can't be that thick, boo. I was young and learning myself, but you saw a porcelain doll that needed to sit on a shelf. I was experiencing life and trying to find the real me. You were Mr. Popularity with no clarity because your eyes really couldn't see. I'm a strong black woman, very set in my ways. When this heart feels pain, it can last for months or sometimes just days. I'm fierce and aggressive with the determination of a lioness. Trouble often avoids me because I don't deal with that mess. I'm not perfect. I'm human. I've made many mistakes. I've persevered and learned from the lessons because they will not determine my fate. You see, my dear, a caged animal will never ever thrive. Living under your thumb and rules would have eaten me alive. You had this golden box that I just could not fit in. I've never been the type of chick to try to fit in. Sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, but always just as confident as I please. Man, I've been known to bring some players to their knees. Spiritual, fearful, and faithful to the Lord with a heart of gold, a poet, an artist, a poet with loads and loads of soul. Fairy tales and unicorns are the reality you always seem to live in. Happily ever after is exactly what you envisioned. But there's always two sides to a coin, and Dungeons and Dragons, to me, seem like prison. I wish you the best, and I hope that you are happy because I'm riding, crashing, and gliding this crazy wave called life. I know for a fact this would not be possible if I had died the slow death of being your wife.
Woo, woo. I mean, I think that's the poem that after somebody done got out of a situation and they were put down and beat down and told that they too big or not beautiful enough by their mate, and they just said to hell with that. They in the corner like, you know what? Look at this Joker. This Joker must not know. Like, Mr. Popular, like Special said, Mr. Popularity with no clarity. Is there? Did you write that for someone?
I did. I did. Yeah, I did. I did.
No, I mean,
That
as a
was
as a as a
a personal piece. Yes.
as a as a reader, you
Hmm.
know, um, and I know that this is your first published book, but I'm quite sure you got notebooks all over the house, little pieces of paper with thoughts. One of the things, and I've never wrote a published book, is that sometimes you have to be a certain place to get that certain emotion out,
Right.
and
Right.
I know it's for you to to wrote that with so much emotion, whether it was for going on in your life or someone else's.
Mhm.
Now, when you look back at it,
Mhm.
how do you feel when you look back at it?
Um, I like that piece. I really like that piece. I think it definitely captures who I am, who I was, who I am, the evolution of Melodic Storm. That's one of my favorites. I have a handful that are my favorites, and
Did
that's that.
you do you have anything written down that you could tell your 20-year-old self?
Hmm. Not written, definitely not written down, but in all honesty, I would tell my 20-year-old self, always believe in yourself and never give up on you. Yeah, that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self. Never get to a
I mean,
point.
a lot of you have to be as I would say, you get a certain group of people who are what we consider geniuses, and I believe everybody has like that trait in them.
Yes.
You just gotta be able to bring it up. When did you realize like, all right, I done went to these poetry events. It's time for me to just do a book. Just put these words into a
Okay.
cover and let's get something going.
I've always wanted to write a book. Poetry is not the only genre that I'm interested in, or that I dabble in, I should say. So there will be other things coming up for me in the future. So I mean, you can look out for that for sure. But I think, like I said, I've always wanted to write a, always wanted to leave a. I feel like I have something to say, and I feel like there are people who can relate to my pieces. I feel like they need to be heard.
Do you think that um you're for lack of better words, like you're compulsive? Do you think you're compulsive?
Mm, no, I don't think I'm compulsive.
Oh, so you're able to say, I at this set time I'm gonna do this, or you're one of the people that just go. Like if you got an idea on your head, or you
So I'm not a typical artist. I'm not a typical artist. Usually artists are very, scattered. I'm not scattered. I'm an organized, um, I'm an organized planner. Oh, that's a good one. Organized planner. So even though I'm a creative, I'm still very, I set deadlines.
so
Very,
your your library with your books. So you mean to tell me you got the urban section is in the urban section? Interesting.
no, 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 no. My library, I have my books everywhere. Like usually,
Okay.
I line them up usually by like size order.
So they are all over the place. They're not by titles or genre or
No,
self help.
no, but they're all over my house. I'll say that. I right now. I think I have two books in my bedroom. I have books on my fireplace. I have books on a shelf in my living room. I have books on shelves down in the basement. I have totes filled with books because, like I said, I like to reread some of my books, and some of them are just gems.
I want to get to know you better.
Okay. All right. Hmm. Hold on, let me just scroll to it. Okay. I want to get to know you better. I can't believe I'm sitting here writing this potential love letter. The thing is, I don't know that much about you, but the possibility of loving you gives me chills. And I can't stop thinking about you. You've helped me peel back this thick layer of pain, distance, and despair that was corrupting me, suffocating me. And I was fully aware of its existence, its draining powers, and the bitterness that had crept into my heart, my soul, my being. You had me wanting to run away so fast because for the first time in over a decade, my eyes were finally seeing that all men are not the same, all men are not playing the same game. But I'm still afraid of opening Pandora's box. I've been dipping and dodging this path of potential pain like a sly fox. For many years, masking fear with fuck him, I don't really care. But the truth of the matter is, if I allowed myself the pleasure of caring, it would literally kill me if my love chose not to be there. Your open, honest approach on life, love, and all things in between had me stuck on stupid. Shit. I feel like I've been pulverized by Cupid. I want to get to know you better, but I feel like I've known you for an eternity. I know it seems strange, but that's not even reality. To this strong black woman, vulnerability seems like a curse. Man, if I could
Mm.
bottle up my feelings, I would roll them right up and stuff them in my purse.
We're gonna talk about this poem. Let me just get sip my coffee.
Okay.
I happen to have a lot of friendships with a lot of women, and
Mm-hmm.
they openly discuss about going through some things in life, and part of your poem speaks to that vulnerability.
Right.
Um, you want to speak about that? Did Now this poem isn't any backstory,
Mm-mm.
but see, as a woman, I'm quite sure you got your female friends, yourself. Y'all discussed being vulnerable and having having that trust and really just putting your life, your feelings, your emotion, your everything into another human being.
Right. That's hard.
Um,
That's hard. That's a struggle. I still struggle with that to this day. It's a struggle. Absolutely. To open up and allow someone the potential to hurt you. Yeah, that's hard.
I think that when we all go through what we go through, the journey of life, um, we tend to not be able to correlate that to the next person. Be like, look, I'm one of my issues. Like I asked you a question, I texted you a question earlier, and you said you didn't have any, I'm speaking about insecurities for everybody in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times we can't, or me, I'm gonna say me,
Mm-hmm.
I have insecurities. Now my insecurities may not have anything to do with a relationship or whatever,
Right.
but they're there, and I always say that my insecurities is no one else's issue but mine.
Right. Absolutely.
And trusting a friend, trusting anybody with my insecurities can be hard, but I shouldn't dump them on them. I
Right.
should ask them, like, help me get through those insecurities. I mean, because they're there, and
Right.
they're there, and they pop up every once in a while. You'd be like, oh yeah, I'm cured from those insecurities, and then they pop up. You'd be like, damn, I'm tripping. I'm still got issues in this area. And this is something that King just said. He says some people take advantage of vulnerable people playing on their emotions, and it's foul.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I don't look at vulnerability as an insecurity. In all honesty, I feel like to me an insecurity is something that you don't work on. It's something that you feel like you lack or you don't work on. I feel like when you're very self-aware of what your issues are and you're a constant work in progress, it to me it's not really an insecurity.
Do you think that the vulnerability like
Mhm.
that ties in with the women with having or I don't want to sound chauvinist with being so filled with emotion because
Mm,
you may like a guy may be like I ain't vulnerable to nothing. He's gonna show some type of machoism or some type of masculine. Um, he's not gonna allow his guard to be down
right.
to be vulnerable.
I think with black women in general, at least I know at least in my family, we were always taught to make sure that you can take care of yourself. Make sure you can take care of yourself. Make sure you can take care of your family. Make sure you take care of everything because it doesn't matter whether you're married or not. At any time, happen, your husband could walk out of the house and get hit by a bus. What you gonna do then? You know what I mean? So I think that more than anything, you know, that term strong black woman, it's the I feel like it's a gift and a curse because sometimes, like I said, you're totally prepared to do what you have to do, but then sometimes you're like, I'm tired. Yeah,
It's funny. It's funny that you brought that term up.
yeah,
I think the term strong black women. My personal opinion is it is offensive to you guys because nobody, the world does not allow you guys to cry.
right.
The world does not allow you guys to show emotion. Really, the world is actually trying to take the black woman's emotion away. Why you got to be strong? Sometimes you need to be weak. So not weak, but sometimes you need to be soft. You don't have to be take on the world all the time.
I don't
And
feel
I
like
th-
we get that option. I don't feel like we get that option. I always say this, and maybe some people will take it the wrong way, but I feel like when it comes to black women and it comes to black men, we always have your back. Like I said, I know that we always have your back, but it seems like when some black men get into a position of power, they choose of outside of
Woo!
race. Wait a minute, because women of other races are usually more accommodating.
Interesting topic. That's a whole different
But
story.
I don't want to generalize and say all. That's why I said some. I want to be
I
very
think that
clear with some.
I think that I do agree with you. I
Mhm.
think that you're correct. I think that we have a fear. And like my cousin said, he wrote something in the chat. I'm gonna just from a man's point of view, I'm gonna
Mhm.
say what he said. Now, going back to vulnerability up into what we're talking about,
Mhm.
a woman
Mhm.
is vulnerable because she don't want to get hurt.
Mhm.
A man, he doesn't want to be vulnerable because he doesn't want the vulnerability to be used against him.
Right.
Like for example, and we're speaking about men and women in relationships or whatever.
Right.
I don't think that the black woman realizes how fragile the black man's ego really is, and that you guys have our ego literally in your hands. I really don't. I really don't.
I think as you get older, you do realize how
Oh,
fragile the
but
black ego really is. But I also feel like just being compassionate and like I think that so many people are so self-absorbed that they don't realize the things that they do and say to other people can really make or break somebody. You know what I mean?
mm,
So I think that I think that all of us need like a lesson in compassion and empathy. And I think we would be a lot better off.
interesting. Um, I'm having a daggone relationship show right now. But I think that's important. I think that you explained how you love black excellence, and this all ties together with
Absolutely.
understanding who you are as a woman, who I am as a man, and for the sake of the show. Like we shouldn't be putting each other in a position of not being able to succeed. And I think that's what happens with a lot of our relationships outside of relationships. I think that we don't understand how to be allies of one another enough. Like
Agree.
I know that a lot of the women get upset when they feel like, oh, he that brother, he's dragging black women. And it's like I have a theory with that, which is interesting. I don't think that nobody can tell black women anything. The only one that can hold y'all accountable are y'all.
Absolutely. I think to a certain extent. But I feel like this: if you know everything and you can't be taught,
We Spencer said you two are definitely pulling some strings. Let's talk about.
let's talk about it then.
No, you guys. For the chat, I've been doing this for a minute. She's been doing this for a minute. However, when you do an interview, a show, or chat, you don't know the person. I mean, you get to know the person, and then you start to get to know the person, and what you want to try to do is develop a nice organic chemistry.
Right.
Um, so we're going into subjects that may be have each other as we would say we're building, so to
Right.
say.
Right.
So we could develop that type of chemistry to make, like she said, I want her to be comfortable explaining her poetry and explaining her poems, stuff like that. So this is one of the reasons why we may be going into areas that you guys may not have thought of we were going to go into.
Right. Right. Right.
So you said you had some poems that you wanted to recite that's not in the book.
Um. Yes, one or two. Um.
I'm gonna before you get to that.
Mhm.
Have you ever had someone who really likes your poetry? You're doing a poetry event.
Mhm.
Somebody who really likes your poetry said you spoke to their soul.
Absolutely. You have people that come up to you all the time, like, "Oh my gosh, that piece that you just read, oh, it was so crazy. I was so able to relate. I felt like you were talking about my situation. I felt like you were talking about me." Those are like moments of just like it's crazy. It makes you feel real good that somebody could relate to your work because like I said, to me poetry is subjective. So to for somebody to understand what what you're saying, like I think that's really dope.
Do you think poetry is timeless?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think it ever.
So I'm gonna ask you, with this quote unquote cancel culture and all this madness that goes on,
Mhm.
do you think that poets, like any other comedian, musician, artist, do you think that you guys deserve artistic freedom?
Absolutely. I do not agree with censorship. I don't. I think that we all have the right to speak our minds. Unfortunately, there are instances where because everybody, can speak their mind, they may say things that are, offensive to other people, but they're still entitled to speak their mind.
You think? Do you? I'm gonna ask you. I know years ago I had a friend that he was a older guy. He was into poetry and he hated. And I usually ask poets this. He hated people trying to say spoken word was different than
Mm,
poetry. It bothered him a lot. Do you think that spoken word and poetry is different?
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I think that poetry is more composed and, you have certain types of poems that you can write. I think that spoken word is more of a free for all. I feel like my work is more spoken word than anything. Um, because there's really no form to it. It's me expressing my thoughts. So I would say spoken word and prose because they yeah. So yes, I definitely feel that there's a difference.
So if you had so because Nikki Giovanni Sonia Sanchez, they're still alive. They would definitely be too. You would just if they were somewhere, you would try to get there to
I
hit
would.
them.
I would. I've met Nikki Giovanni before, and she came up to my school. There was a multicultural event, and I worked for the university, so I was sent to take show her around. And that was so dope. So I basically got to shadow Nikki Giovanni at all of these different little, banquet areas around one of the hotels university owned. Um, and for a good like 2 or 3 hours, I was like, oh, this is so amazing. And the funny thing, not very many people knew that I actually did, like wrote spoken word. That's one. And two, I was just like in awe. Like she is so tiny because I'm tall. I'm 5'8". She's a tiny little lady, but
Hmm.
she's so feisty. And she has a very big aura, so I just thought she was just so dope. She was very, very gracious. And then later on in the day, she actually did a speaking engagement at the Multicultural Center at my school. And she was absolutely unfiltered and absolutely spoke her mind. And I loved it.
I have one of the most random questions I could ever ask you. Right?
Okay.
Do you like Nina Simone?
I love Nina Simone.
You put me in like a Nina Simone type of spirit. Nina spoke to me. Nina Simone speaks to a vibration.
Hmm.
You have that type of vibration of a Nina Simone type of vibration.
Okay.
As her favorite word, that black. I'm a big Nina Simone fan, so that was just a random question.
Wow.
Just
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'll take it.
you'll take all of it, huh?
Okay. Take it all. Take it all.
So you said you had some pieces, and I know you had pulled your book out, and I know you wanted.
Uh-oh. Okay. All right. Okay. This piece was written around the time the election, this recent election. I was so full of emotions, just because like the climate was so crazy. Like even going to the supermarket, especially living,
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
um it was just really crazy because people were so just rude and nasty for no reason. And I guess I notice it more because like I said, I'm from the city, so I'm used to, a little bit of everybody and interacting with a little bit of everybody, and to feel like, I don't know, wow, you see me coming, guess who's coming to dinner? you know.
It's funny that you brought that up. Before you get into your poem,
Hmm.
um, we live in the same area basically. And we grew up in a area that's super liberal.
Right.
And then when we live in the area we live in,
Right.
I won't even say it's conservative. I call it where we live at the purple area. You have fanatics on both ends.
Right. I feel like it's radical.
Yeah, yeah. And
Right.
you know, speaking about the climate, I mean, people you would get random people would be like, "Who you vote for?" Be like, "That's
What?
my personal business. Like, why are you asking me that?" Like, and then you see the trucks that drive around with flags, and
There you
you be like,
go.
"Oh my god!" And then you may encounter, and I was telling somebody this before, you may encounter like it was an individual. I was working in a certain area
Hmm.
where guy every day I see him, and he had this pickup truck with like 20 flags on it, but he was the night. But he was so nice to me, and I'm like, so a lot of things you'd be like, did I just see what I thought I seen?
Right.
And then, for me, when I moved to this area,
Hmm.
I literally stopped watching the news during Ferguson. I gave up watching the news because I realized what the image was putting in my head.
Right.
and my personal reality of living in the area that we live in,
Right.
and you start thinking like everybody's this way, everybody's that way.
Right.
So
Right. No.
dealing with those the last 5 years have been so polarizing,
Mhm.
um, and with the pandemic and everything, and election, and a lot of death, and it's just like, oh, I need a break. So
Right.
it led to you writing this piece.
Well, it was very depressing, and I'm with you. I agree with you 100%. I limit my news intake. Like I have so where I'm like, okay, so let me turn the TV on. Let me go scroll my phone or whatever. I mean, I feel like if anything is like a major emergency, I'll get a blast on my phone or what have you. But I really try to limit what I take in because that has a lot to do with energy also. That news and that bad news and all of that. Yeah, that can totally like throw you off. Like, so yeah. Mm-mm.
So you wrote this piece in the fourth quarter, huh? The fourth quarter last year. So this piece is a year old.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Proceed with extreme caution. Stop. Don't you realize you don't belong here? Go back to that jungle where you came from. I know my people brought you here to serve, honor, and obey, but this is my country, and you are sullying the clear picture I had in mind with your foul melanin. I love your locks, and I'll pay hundreds of dollars on vacation to sport them, but don't try to get a corporate job and think that I'm accepting your naps that grow naturally from your scalp because they're too ethnic. Proceed with extreme caution. Stop. Don't you realize you don't belong here? Go back to that jungle where you came from. I'll pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for fillers and lip implants, but I hate you because those big lips reek of that goddamn melanin that I hate so much. Proceed with extreme caution. Stop. Don't you realize you don't belong here? Go back to that jungle where you came from. I run to the tanning salon to keep my skin golden brown because the reflection of that bronze glow is heaven sent. But only when I can wash it off. Because if it naturally protrudes through those pores, it's a crime. Proceed with extreme caution. Stop. Don't you realize you don't belong here? Go back to that jungle where you came from. Your cocoa, almond, mocha, caramel, dolce, cinnamon, nutmeg complexions are corrupting something I hold so dear. Hundreds of years of hate passed down generation to generation, upholding a segregated point of view. My race is better, it's the superior race, dominant and ever powerful. What I fail to realize is the human race is universal. And if you cut me, I bleed red. And if I cut you, you bleed red too. Proceed with extreme caution. Stop. Don't you realize you don't belong here? Go back to that jungle where you came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
All that came about of you, huh? Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I don't know what else to say after that. No, I really don't. I mean, what a difference a year makes.
Absolutely.
Whether no matter what a person's political orientation may be,
Right.
um, it's amazing how it's just not as much drama going on right now as it
Right.
was last year this time.
Right. It's so
Um,
quiet.
yeah, but wow,
Yeah.
that's a timeless poem
Thank
because I'm quite sure that we're going to be back at that place again in the near future. And if you put the last 5 years in a box, you ask yourself, what has actually changed?
you.
We're no difference today than we were 2 years ago,
There you go.
3 years ago.
There you go.
Um, the the murders have not stopped. The police brutality has not stopped. So, and definitely the racism has not stopped. So I think that is, whew,
History repeats itself. It's a cycle over and over and over again, but nobody can figure out how to end it because we get upset and we fail to organize. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother interview.
well, we're gonna end it in our chat for tonight.
All right.
Do you have anything you would like to share?
Thank you to the people who logged in and tuned into the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You guys in the chat, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Um, we have a bunch of stuff that goes on the channel. Um, Tuesdays we do, my cousin and myself do a show called the Poetry Corner. Um, and she will be a guest on the Poetry Corner very soon.
Yes.
Schedule permitting. We do a show on Wednesday with a young lady by the name of Darling Nikki. We do a bunch of shows. So, like I said, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you guys hit the like button so this show could be seen, because the only way that the message can ever be spread with YouTube and Facebook is you have to, as we say, you have to set off the algorithm. So the only way that the algorithm gets set off is based off of likes and subscribing to the channel as well. I really appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys don't realize, and I always say it, is that when people are doing a show, the chat kind of makes the show because we feed off of you guys' energy. And
Absolutely.
this young lady and myself, we really appreciate you guys. And you don't go nowhere. You stay there. And like I said, look for her to be on the channel as far as the Poetry Corner very soon. And look out for her, man. She's not going to be a stranger to the Let's Talk platform. We're working on something, and hopefully you guys will see her soon. A different side of her, but
Right.
who she is. Very talented young lady,
Thank
and
you.
she doesn't want to be pigeonholed with saying, "I just do this" or "I just do that." So look to see her face, look to see her name, look to see her promote, buy her book. Her book is on Amazon. This is the cover of a book, Lyric of the Heart. Very good book. I mean, the artwork is fantastic in the book.
Thank you.
A lot of collections of poems. Um, we always talk about this thing of ours, what we call our culture. We come from, we're very distinct.
Right.
And I have to let everybody know that sometimes we talk about culture. Well, I'm from this, I'm from this. No, the Black American is very distinct culture, and we know we have a DNA code that's different than even our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. We're just different. I'm just being honest. So, not that we're better, but we're just different. So I ask you guys to really, really support what we're trying to do. Support this young lady, buy her book, let her know how you feel about her book, and give her the criticism. I mean, one thing that we don't do is we don't say, "Well, I didn't like this because of such and such."
Right.
We're from an era where it's not hating; it is constructive criticism. So give somebody the criticism and be like, "Well, could you do this better next time?" Because sometimes we need that encouragement. It's not hating; it is, like I said, it's constructive criticism. With that, everybody have a blessed night. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.